The three, it looks like. Well, let's call the August the 9th of 2022 Engineering Committee to order. And as a roll call, Director Rawson.
Here.
With us on Zoom. And Director Bowman is here. We have a period for public comment. Any member of the public may address the committee at this time upon matters not identified on this agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the Engineering Committee. However, any matter that requires action will be referred to staff. For matters that are on the agenda, an opportunity will be given to address the committee when those matters are considered. Is there anyone on Zoom? No. Okay, so we have no public comment. We have the minutes from the July 12th meeting to approve. Gina, have you found any issues or changes to be made with those?
Nope, I approve them.
Okay, and I do as well, so those are approved. So we move on to Buena Vista again.
So again, unfortunately, so now I just wanted to get going. So with Buena Vista, I'll start with the first order of business, I guess, which I've been talking with the contractor over at Southland Paving. I know we had discussed in previous meetings basically about ordering the pipe and getting everything ready. So basically, I talked with him, let him know the situation, and you know, we've been going back and forth on that issue, and I'm talking action for doing that. So I had a couple conversations with him. He got me in touch with his two vendors, which is Pacific Pipe and Western Waterworks. I talked with them, had some good conversations with them, and the good news, I guess, would be is that pipe lead time has been coming back to normal.
Oh, okay.
So that's a good thing. So
What is normal?
it's usually about 2 weeks, which would be the same amount of government time. But again, it's you know, it's all dependent on that time. But we are getting. It was 2 months. 2 to 3 months. Now we're looking at weeks instead of months. So that's good.
We may have moved past the need of actually doing it.
Well, and that's I guess.
One sec.
Should I pause or?
Yeah, let's wait.
All right.
Gina comes.
JR, is that Gina?
Sorry. Sorry, I'm back.
Is there anyone else on?
Jessica Richards, maybe? Or?
Okay.
Oh, it's just.
Okay.
So I was saying, no, I talked to Pacific Pipe and Western Waterworks, and they told me the lead time has come down, which is a good thing. But I think the best course of action here, we're still waiting on environmental, which I'm going to get to next. But you know, there's two ways we can do this. And after talking to my construction team, we've gone back and forth on this multiple times over the past month or so. But we found that it'd be best, and if we do want to get the pipe, which I think is still the best course of action, you know, we have a good place to keep it because we have that area behind the K rails. We have plenty of room where it'll be fine. So I talked with them, and I think the best course of action without the least amount of risk to the district is to have them specifically order the materials and then kind of pass the invoice over to Duluth. So it'd be owned by Duluth still, of course. I talked to them about that. But the reason I would do that is I want them to order the material. I don't want them, like, let's say there's like
So there's
200
no
feet of
conflict
pipe.
if there's an issue with the pipe.
Exactly. They can't
Yeah.
come tell me, oh, I told you I wanted this specific type of pipe, or I wanted this. Well, you ordered it. So that's kind of, so that was what I was scared about. And that's why I've been kind of coordinating with my construction team to make sure.
Right.
But then they came up with this idea that we have used in the past. It's rare. This is a rare condition.
So they would purchase it even though we've not like given a what's that, the notice to proceed or whatever. But it would be like a draw against the total cost of the project. So they give us an invoice for $10,000 to say, okay,
Yeah.
and their bid was $300,000. They would pay that company, right?
So I think, and I guess what I was thinking of more, if they would order the pipe and order the material, and then the district would pay for it, basically based on it, which is what we want.
But what if, okay, you were describing a conflict. where they go out to install it.
Mhm.
And they say, well, this isn't exactly what we wanted and what we bid on.
And that's why.
Back in the same boat.
No, that's, I think, maybe I haven't explained it correctly there, but maybe it's, I'm saying that they actually make the order, they write up the order slip, they say exactly what they need, but they don't pay for it. They make the order, get all the details, and then the district would pay for that. But we wouldn't do the order at all. We would own the pipe, but we would just.
So then the invoice comes in and, then we would pay directly to ABC Pipe Company.
Correct.
And then we would account for that as like a draw against the total bid amount of the whole project.
Correct. It would come out of that, it would come out of the whole project and specifically towards the pipe bid item, which it would just subtract whatever that costs. Of course, there's still labor and material, labor and cost and in that, so it wouldn't completely cancel out that bid item, but it would be, I asked them, and it would be just a direct subtraction of whatever that cost was from that bid item, basically.
Yeah, I would have some concerns with that in that without an invoice to us from the contractor, that we may be complicating the contract with the contractor. And so if it's possible to do this in the fashion that would be normally done with the contract where they sell us the pipe as a part of the contract, more or less, I think what
I
Jim
think
was.
we're on the same page, yeah.
So that they order it, they pay the supplier, they invoice us against the contract. And we pay within whatever the payment terms are on the contract,
It's like a progress payment.
like a progress payment.
Yeah, no, that could be done.
Yeah.
So that we then own it through a direct invoice from them. I think that then ties them to responsibility for the product since they chose the supplier.
That's correct, yeah, so that's something, and again, we have this all in the works kind of with Pacific Pipe and what's more, we're gonna get that. We don't have the specific details of it, we have the order details like ready to go basically, so that's what we've been coordinating. So that's the good on that, so if you do want to proceed, which it seems like we have wanted that, we can do that. And we can get that pipe.
It takes that out as an issue in the event that something may set the supply chain back as it was before.
Yeah, no, I fully agree.
And, things are volatile enough, that's always a possibility, even though oil prices are coming down. You just don't know where they're gonna go,
Yeah,
particularly with some of the things going on in the world today.
yeah,
So,
there's a lot to keep up with.
okay, I would suggest we take that path. And Gina, do you agree? Are you-
That sounds
are you
good.
Yeah,
No, that sounds fine.
okay, good.
Now we just have to get the project started.
That's the one we're going for. So, I guess that's the segue to environmental.
Yeah.
And, this is why we keep saying again on this project. And, I just want to kind of give us an update on what has been done so far up to this point. Basically, our first step was, we did all the environmental reports. We hired GreenCon to do all those environmental consultant reports, which was a jurisdictional delineation and all the permit applications and basically the coordination with the developer, with the permits agency side. So we did all that. And in the beginning, we talked about the timeline. Timeline is kind of hard to ascertain with the Army Corps.
Right.
It could take, sometimes it takes 3 to 4 years if need be. We talked about it in the beginning, but it's, we're still about a year and a half in of all this involvement right now that we've done. We ended up, we went to bid basically on, because we have the hole out there and we've gotten pressure that we wanted to do this. The best course of action would have been, to wait until we have the environmental permit and then go to bid, and then we wouldn't kind of be in this. But, we wanted to, based on the pressure of everything that was going on, and this is, and the reason I'm doing this is I forget everything is that Chuck, you weren't on the board before in the beginning when this all happened, and Jana as well. So I want to kind of give a basic update of what was going on.
Maybe I should
Let's.
politely advise the two new committee members. couple of years ago, this blew out before I came here. So it was about 2017. So it's been a hole in the ground that long.
Right.
And of course, everyone has been working on trying to rebuild this. And so they pursued getting FEMA funding. And they went through that process for like a year or two. And they never could get an application considered. And that was right at the time that I came here. And so I looked at all the paperwork and the process they went through to, get FEMA approval. And everything looked fine to me. Then we got denied, so I being new had to figure out, well, to win on appeal, what do I need to do? And it came about after a period of a year and a half or 2 years. We couldn't get any win an appeal because that's why Dustin's here today. And that's why the tablet with Esri and all that. Because what FEMA said is, unless you have documentation that you've maintained your property, these pipes, we can't build you new ones. And so we have to assume if you have no maintenance records that you didn't maintain them, and FEMA doesn't pay for that. They'll only pay for things that were good. Anyway, so then the board had to decide, so where are we going to get the money for this? Because they had basically assumed that FEMA was going to pay for it. So it took more time. And then at that point, a prior board member, well, say Mr. Adams, made this his cause celeb, that he was going to get this bill. So every single meeting, in both engineering and board, we went through for a year. We're building this, I can bring 50 people to the meeting, blah, 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 blah. And so the board, finally, Dave at Hunt said, let's just get bids. We don't know how long this permitting is going to take. Let's get bids. And we did. And we probably, now we know because of how backed up, COVID and then how backed up all the agencies are, that he's right. We should be out to bid right about now, even though because hindsight here is 2020, the price we got is probably more favorable than we would get because you could say today, let's go out to bid. Let's done with this. Let's start all over. Probably you're not going to make that decision. So now it's like, how do we clean up where we're at? Because we've been telling you meeting after meeting all year long. Since you two have been on this board, every single meeting we said, we're going to build this thing in the spring. And then spring became summer, okay, like a song. And here we are now on the doorstep of fall. And I saw Sandia Creek and trying to build that in 20 inches of rain or whatever we got. I wouldn't touch this one with that rainfall. I mean, this is really a steep grade, that water is coming out.
Yeah.
So now me personally, I would consider kicking the can to spring. But what that does is mess up the permits that we've already gotten because they're going to expire. So while we're waiting around on the federal, we're tolling time with the state agencies, which you can address. So I'm just setting the stage for you here. And so this is not the way you would ever do a project like this, but it's had so many strange twists to it, like the FEMA thing.
Presuming we did move it off to the spring, what's the likelihood of increasing the scope through damage done by the heavy rains in the fall?
So as far as extra damage being done, it's going to wash away a little more, but I hate to say the closest good news, I guess we could say silver lining is because there's a hole in the wall, it's easily able to pass through like a river. So it's not causing as much damage as it would, just because it's going to erode a little more. There'll be maybe a little more dirt. But as far as, actual damage, there's no pipes to wash down anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
there's like, there's nothing in the way. So obviously, right now, I mean, it's almost a river. It's flowing through a lot easier than it would if there was a roadway there. So I wouldn't say that that's really much of a concern for that.
Okay.
I mean, but we do want to get it fixed because, you don't want more of the roadway coming down from erosion. But, if there was more, that would have to be something we can consider. But I don't think we can, obviously, it's an unforeseen condition. We can't, I guess, estimate for that in the future, but we could always add that in if need be.
And what's the impact to the residents in the area? I assume obviously there's another path to get in and out, but are there multiple paths or only one?
So, I don't know, it's one little detour right there. I think I don't know, but I think it affects about 2 or 3 residents.
3 at the most.
Yes, so it's, we want to get this open, but it is a detour they've been doing since I think 2017, is what, before I was.
And is that
there, so.
detour solid?
It's only an issue of the time that you go
It's an
around.
extra time.
Okay, so we're not in
3 minutes, I think. 5
in risk of having that wash out and having people abandoned on the other side.
Yes, and that way it's solid, there's no risk on that.
Okay.
That area, I don't know how I know this, but those roads in that area are relatively new in terms of the district. So the original roads of the district are almost 50 years old.
Mhm.
These would probably be in the 25 to 30s because that's when that area developed. The only reason there's a problem with this, if you look at the pavement on both sides, it's in good shape.
Hasn't had much abuse over the last 3 years or 5 years, right?
Well, but even at the time, because I went there at the beginning, it was in good shape, as
Yeah.
is this loop. If we had a map where I could show you, it's a circle. And down on the easterly side is this washout. And the washout is that this is a year-round, blue line stream.
Yeah.
And for some reason in that storm, I wondered, and we had it checked out, whether there was some obstruction above
Mhm.
this washout that failed. A lot of people build little lakes and stuff like
Yeah.
that, dam things up. And if perhaps that had released a big massive amount of water. Dave had his people look at it with aerials to see. And no, it wasn't the case, but what the failure behaved like that. So whatever this rain was, and you hear what is that brings down aircraft, those, you get it at the end of the runway and you go down.
On a resting strip or?
No, the air,
Wind shear.
wind shear,
Yes,
where you get this massive amount of water and then it just
yeah.
dumps down. That's the only thing, and we were doing this 5 years ago, just trying to see what the cause was.
It's actually during the FEMA bill.
But that's what most people conclude and will never know, is that it must have been some sort of wind shear. It sucked a lot of water up and then just dumped it right on the stream. And that big mass of water is what washed. It took a lot of water to take that out like it did.
The result was it overtops the roadway rather than going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Washout. That's.
And for those pipes to be a quarter mile down the canyon, there was some force at play. So anyway, sorry.
So-
No, that's great.
If I understand correctly, we're through all of those FEMA and related issues at this point. The decision has been made to go forward, and we're down to the one last environmental approval from
Correct.
the Corps of Engineers.
Corps of Engineers, and I guess I'll give you a little bit of where I'm at. The last time we discussed today, we're going through the tribal consultations, but we've been through that stage with no issue from what they told us. And then now the next step that they're telling us, it's called, it's dealing with the State Historical Preservation Office, they call it SHPO for short, basically. So they're trying to get that one passed through. So we gave them more information about a month ago to provide the SHPO. So they're going through that, and now they're saying they're waiting on feedback from that. So we are going through that.
That's the last gate, or are there some others beyond that?
They told it, they keep telling us we're supposed to be in the tunnel. It's just the Army Corps.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to back up to the beginning of what happened with the Army Corps, you know, when we received the 2 wildlife permits. So apparently the one representative that handles this whole area, they were out on a field job. It was wildfire season for about a month and a half, 2 months, where they were completely unreachable. And then finally it comes out of nowhere. He's like, oh, well, I'm finally back. Seeing your 10 emails over the last 10 weeks. I think we can get this going now. So, I mean, I hate to say it's a perfect storm, but no pun intended, but
Yeah.
it's just what's been going on. So I just want to give everyone the full transparency of what we've been dealing with. But we are continuing to send them weekly emails. I'm trying to follow up on that. And again, as far as like Jim mentioned with wanting to do construction during the rainy season if we can, which is obviously the non-desired. I talked with South End Paving about that, and they're kind of taking the stance of anything is possible, which they can do it, but they would everyone of course would much rather do it outside of the rainy season.
Sure.
And they do have a stormwater bypass system. They said, I asked them, you know, what kind of cost and implication. They can't really, it's an unforeseen condition, so they can't necessarily say it's going to cost us this much money.
Yeah.
But it's all dependent on. So we gave them a flow that's going through the culvert for the 100-year storm. If we get a storm that's bigger than that, it's going to cause more damage, and it's obviously more likely to happen during the rainy season.
Sure.
So they designed that for a certain storm, and you know, everything's saying it's going to be a dry season, but they said that about last year. And I don't know if you saw the pictures of San Diego Creek. There was a waterfall going over that spillway, and Marietta did a great job dealing with it, but we don't want to have to go through that again if we don't have to. But again, it's doable, but it's not like the best outcome of what we want to do. So.
I don't think we're quite at the point where the committee and then the board has to decide that this goes, you know, back to spring or whatever. But I just kind of wanted, and last week I was lighting fires under everybody, you know, we just can't keep working with this unknown. So let's get known and find out where we're at, because at this meeting, I don't think there's a decision, but I think we did the groundwork, okay? The committee kind of knows where you're at as of right now.
Mhm.
I'm hoping that the next meeting, Ron's gonna be in here, we're ready to issue the notice of proceed. But if that doesn't happen at the latest, the October meeting,
Mhm.
you're gonna have to make a decision, go or no go.
Yeah.
And so we just thought,
December through February is the high risk months, aren't they?
yeah.
That's the high risk. I think they consider the start of the rainy season around very late October, basically, or early November. So, but that's the very beginning.
Permits November to like March.
It's late October. That's
Yeah.
consider the rainy season, but it doesn't really, you don't see much in the beginning of the rainy season.
Yeah.
But no, that's kind of, I just wanted to give a good update on that and just let you know what we've been doing. And the further I talked with the contractor, the biggest complication is getting the base down back and set the pipes on. Once they have that in, they're good. It's fully functional basically. And I say that takes about 2 to 3 weeks from the start of construction. So I just want to make sure I get all the information out. So we have that and
So if they were to start by late September, they would have a low risk of being prepared for the rainy season. Is that what I'm hearing?
If they were to start by late September, they would definitely have everything in place for the rainy season.
Yeah.
But again,
Okay.
we need that.
And we could even do it in October, but that's where I'm just kind of setting you up that, whenever it occurs, we get the permits. It's,
Yeah.
we got to do a no go or no go evaluation. So
And if we don't make it by the end of the year, what's the threshold for having to go back through the permitting process?
So they're usually good for about a year, but I've been talking with the environmental consultant because we physically couldn't construct based on the agency. There's usually some kind of clause or in some way to, extend that without any addition. And I'm having have Rincon, our environmental consultant, get some exact details on that because I don't want anything to come up as that. We're not, right now, if we got the permit, we could go ahead and have no issue with that. But if we're going back to spring, that's gonna put us at the tail end of that, so I'd rather just have everything
Yeah.
taken care of before that. So that's why I'm gonna have Rincon reach out and just let me know the full details of what exactly the considerations of that, because if we are considering going back to spring, that's what we need to think about.
Right.
Let's keep our fingers crossed that a month
Please.
from today, you're gonna be saying we're going. And tell Rencon, do everything they can. But send the guy flowers or something, whatever. Get that permit. This is insane.
No,
You know,
I agree.
they, all these other, if they want to regulate people, they need to get their act together
Yeah.
and all the regulators need to be on the same page.
Yeah.
So anyway, hopefully we'll be okay.
Okay, same boat. All right, let's move on then, and assume we'll get an update next month, and
Of course.
hopefully it'll be a better one. Let's look at the pavement rehabilitation project that,
So we have everything. I know at the last meeting, we gave you authorization to bid, and I told you, I let the board know, basically, we wanted a 4-week bid period on that. So that start of that bid period would be tomorrow, basically. We're gonna set the 4 weeks for the threshold there, so we have everything, we have the email set up right now, and we're gonna send it out. Start of the morning, basically, there, and then we basically, the probably gets fully advertised. We do the, basically all the online green rooms. And we also, utilize, the district's, relationship with Press, I think it's the Press Enterprise, the newspaper out there.
Uh-huh.
And we put it in there as well, as we've done in the past, so we'll be getting that invoice and getting that set up as well. But everything is set to be advertised, and that would give us a 4-week bid period, which to give you a little bit, I gave you an idea of why we do the 4 weeks last bit. But basically, we've seen if you do a 6-week bid period, we spend 2 weeks fielding way more questions than we usually would, and it's just a waste of money and time for everybody. So that's why we do we found 4 weeks to be a good one. And with that, there'll be 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, there'll be what we call a non-mandatory pre-bid conference where they've had 2 weeks to kind of look at everything, and they if they have any questions or any issues, we can bring it up. And that's based on the questions that I see, I can either issue an addendum to address those questions, or if there's no real questions, there's no action needed. But I either issue an addendum or do whatever's needed. And then 2 weeks from then, we have the public bid opening where, well, it used to be all in person, but I believe we're utilizing Zoom for this based on everything. Basically, I think it's Teresa usually opens the bid right here, and she reads each number right in front of everybody, and then that's how we know who the low bidder is. We do a bid analysis after that, and so we call them the lowest responsible bidder, and then after that, they'll go to the next board meeting. You get award the contract.
and Jim, there's no further actions at this point needed from either the committee or the board.
No, it's out. So
Until we award.
the official actions were taken at the last board meeting, so we're kind of just in between.
Okay, very good.
Steve is not here, but I'm gonna give his report
Okay.
for him,
Very good.
which isn't much.
Okay,
You probably noticed the tubes in the road. Gina hasn't because she's been out of town, but
I've seen them, yeah.
the county devices have been out in probably 12 different locations throughout the district.
Mhm.
And those locations were selected in order to be able to analyze the data in order that you could make some decisions
Mhm.
potentially. Those were put out last week. We got all the raw data on Friday, but I was talking to Steve on Sunday and he's at a training thing today. He was gonna zoom in. But I said, don't get in too big of a hurry here because it's a lot of data to analyze. And it could have other repercussions. I don't know what that might be.
Right.
So rather than rush into it, I just told them, let's cool it, get us, an analyzed, complete report. But what we know, just from looking at it, is it's a significant reduction on Sandia Creek. That was running at its high point, and I'm just throwing off numbers off the top of my head, but about 4,000 average trips per day on Sandia Creek. And that appears to be down at least 1,500 trips,
Mhm.
which is getting close to half.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there are, and everything around Sandia has come way down, like the detour route. I mean, like way down.
Mhm.
But I don't know what those numbers are yet. And what we're trying to do is to track whether, how many more trips, vehicle trips, were dispersed to other areas. And we know just from looking at the overall data that it's up a little bit, but the comparison being, okay, if 1,500 vehicle trips disappeared, we can only find, just looking at the raw data, a couple hundred. So what Steve is gonna provide to us is some idea of where all this traffic went to.
Mhm.
And what we hope is it went back to the freeway. But we can tell there's some, but it's not what I was expecting. And that's why I had them put counting locations all over the district so that you could just kind of get an idea that people are now going out another.
Yeah. Do we have any coordination with San Diego County that would give us access to data from, say, West Mission Road or that sort of thing?
We could get it, but they don't do the data as often as we do.
Yeah.
But it may be, that's a great idea. Once we get our report put together,
Mhm.
see from San Diego County what data they have. And we'll see, maybe they just did it 6 months ago. I doubt it because counties don't tend to be, you know, too proactive at things. But
Sometimes
you
they
never know.
yeah, sometimes they have a GIS. It's just like clicking here, yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, so. So anyway, that's Steve's report.
And are we getting speed data with that as well?
No, this doesn't have speed, but we can get that. And I just last week, I'm glad you brought that up. I did ask CHP for financial reasons to back down.
Mhm.
Because when we reopened Sandia Creek, we pushed them way up and
Mhm.
like $20,000 to $30,000 a month
Yeah.
in expense. We can't maintain that level at all. So I talked to them last week and said, we're gonna be doing counting, you know, whatever, it's the first of the month. Let's back down. And he said, I was just getting ready to call you because, you know, just talking, there's no traffic out there anymore. Where did it all go? You know, that kind of thing. So they felt it. And actually the last month, they've been in the outskirts of the district. Because Sandia Creek, we've, at least for the time being, we cured that issue.
Yeah.
And the speeding, everything, because it's all our own residents now.
Yeah.
So we just want to know for those people who can't get through, where are they going and how are they driving? And we heard from CHP that they were driving pretty bad.
Mhm.
So they re-educated them with a little ticket book, you know.
Yeah, right.
So, but anyway, that's slowed down.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised from just casual observation that the traffic isn't down more than
Really?
personally, I would say it's quite a bit less than half of what had been there. But
Yeah.
I don't make a lot of trips into town. I only go in if the Amazon truck's not running. You know, I don't get out there all that much, but I've noticed a really significant drop. So hopefully we'll see that on the.
It's also, I'm not sure when Steve started the count, but when they first put up the gate, there were still a lot of people coming through. So they've kind of done a little more with that so that not as many people can just follow each other through. That was a big thing.
We'd anticipated that would happen, so we waited 40 days, I believe,
Okay.
40 days. And that's why the counts were all done last week.
Yeah.
So
Oh, good.
it'd been 5 weeks since the gate went in. And So it should be, pretty good data, I think. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We can always
Thanks.
redo it if we need to.
Okay, Dustin?
Sure. Got a short little presentation for you. It's not much. Really been mainly doing our standard operations of just tree work. Since it's so hot, that's pretty much all we can do is tree work, graffiti removal, and pothole patching. All of our typical
Mud cleanup.
mud cleanup, yeah. Middle of summer mud cleanup. We did have a call out from CHP. This was another truck that had crashed. It missed the probably 5 or 6 different weight limit signs. So he crashed on the side of the hill. They requested us to come up and clean the road for him. So that's exactly what we did here.
And this is Los Gatos again.
This is Los Gatos.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the next item.
So then we had another request from CHP. Since they're still up there and present now, or they were present, they were able to find both of these things, obviously. We had a pretty large tree fall at just at the San Diego county line. And me and a contractor went out there, as you can see in the photo. We cut it out of the road, and then following day, we had come out there and cleaned everything up permanently, chipped it and hauled it away. But that was probably the largest tree that I have personally dealt with. It was probably 42 inches, 43 inches.
That was the one across Sandia Creek to Brett's County line. Yeah, I drove down to look at that after it was cleaned up. Good job cleaning up.
Thank you, sir. That was a big mess. And then we did get our skid steer. It's been hard at work already. Did a small little asphalt project today. That attachment that's on it right there is that's the grinder. It's obviously you got a chance to see it.
I did, yes.
Took the broom out there and did a little like cleanup in front of Mr. Williams' house. Had a water line broke up there. So far, it's proven to be extremely effective, and I believe that we're going to be showing that at the
It's a good board meeting.
Yeah, I think it's gonna pay for itself very quickly.
Yes, it will. Yeah, very versatile machine and happy to have it.
So at the end of your board meeting next week, we're gonna adjourn or recess out to the garage in the back
Oh,
and have Dustin and the crew kind of give us a little, for you guys,
very good.
a demo
Yeah.
on how it works.
Yeah.
So that'll be the end of the meeting. Gina, you'll be there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Debbie's gonna miss that, but we'll go out and end the meeting that.
If I could step back just a second to the item before this on the tree cleanup.
Yes, sir.
One of the items or one of the things that came out of that was through an HOA, I was notified that there was a tree down, but I didn't receive that for a day or more after it actually happened. I didn't happen to be where I could receive emails. And I think Bob may have gotten one also. So the question came up, how do people notify that there's a problem like that that needs to be taken care of? And I had a short conversation at one point with Sam about what, I think after the last general meeting, what's the right way to get people in touch with the people that are going to do something about it? And the recommendation from Deputy Perez was having your number or someone from the district's number at the dispatch.
Mhm.
So that the right way to do it would be to call 911, have them then notify the person that needs to go do the cleanup.
All right.
And have we done anything to make that happen? Or it was a conversation, it wasn't an action at the end of the last meeting.
Yeah,
And so I'd like to kind of move that on toward getting some action that
absolutely.
maybe has that
Actually, it's
happen.
all the place, it always has
Is it?
to.
Okay,
Yeah, if they call a 911, CHP, whatever, the CHP dispatches it. Because of CHP's jurisdiction, the roads sheriff doesn't have jurisdiction.
Uh-huh.
So we give them a list. I mean, it's been there the whole time I'm here, but it's all tied to the 911 thing.
Yeah.
They have a call out. So 3 in the morning, it comes to me, I call him. But it's a dispatcher and they won't clear it till you do it.
Yeah.
So, it's a good system. It's just
Okay.
the user, and maybe we should put this on our webpage. I think it might be, but if not, Jessica, is it there on the webpage, dial 911?
We have, I'll double check.
Just a comment on that, that there has been a little bit of confusion when it comes to CHP, definitely has it under control. They contact us.
Yeah.
But it's when people dial 911, what ends up happening is, which has happened now, the last call that I've been to,
Uh-huh.
is the fire department response as well. So, and what happens is it kind of jams up resources. So like last time, I guess they had like 3 or 4 engines that had come out because the way that it was reported was it was so big.
Yeah.
And CHP had recommended that as well, that we try to get all the dispatch centers our information. So just throwing that out there as well.
But it's essential. So what happened, the 911 operator
Mhm.
dispatched fire instead of dispatching CHP.
Yeah.
So like in a case like that, there's nothing I can do about it, because our list is there. So CHP figures out the solution, okay? And then they determine whether it's something we need to respond to. And then that person in the CHP, that's right, it's always CHP who calls us. So I think we're okay.
Well, obviously, there's a process in place because you ended up out there that night
Yeah.
working on the tree.
Yeah, it works, but it sounds to me like this was Team Air. And if you're the person on the end of the phone, and you've got somebody who kind of panics, this massive tree just fell down.
Yeah.
That person had to make a call. And maybe they thought there might be a person under there. And then they would have made the right call by calling fire,
And the
So-
path that I'm aware of that it took was first the person who owned the property connected with someone in the property owners association asking, what do I do?
There's.
And then the person in the property owners association, knowing that Bob and I were on the board here, sent us emails of which neither one of us received in any reasonable time.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, very probably whoever was the next one to drive down the road found a tree there. And
And then
Took some action.
if they use the cell phone,
the problem is you can't use the cell phone there.
so who knows how but I tell, my wife, my family, do not, if you're at home, do not use your cell phone for 911. Because it goes to CHP, which in our case, that would be good, okay?
Yeah.
But when somebody's breaking into your house or whatever, you're calling 911 or somebody's choking or whatever, if you dial it from your home number, it all comes up on the screen, who you are, where you are, which station, blah, 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 blah. So that person can instantly respond to right people. But from 911, they're just getting cell phone, whatever your number is. And so everything gets all fouled up. It's good if you have to use it. And it goes to, because they're assuming it's on the road, that's why you're using the cell phone, and that's why it goes to the CHP 911.
Okay.
So, but if you're choking, you really don't want CHP, get out from your home so that they know, that fire station rolled in. So,
Well, Gina and I can take care of the POA association.
Yeah.
We happen to be related to that,
yeah,
but it may be good to verify that we have good information on the website. So if someone does go to the website, and hopefully if they didn't know better, that would be one path.
right.
not sure that's the first place that everybody in.
I doubt it.
But anyway, if we have good information there, that may be helpful. I'm sorry, Dustin, I didn't mean to break
Oh,
in
no
too
worries.
far into your presentation. Let's go back to it.
No worries. Just to close it, like I said, we're just keeping up with, regular maintenance of tree work, weed abatement, stuff like that. And then, coming up here pretty soon, we're gonna start doing the drain inspections. So that starts within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, section.
Okay, do you have any relationship to the rehabilitation work that's going to be going on?
This year, I do not.
You think that might be a possibility at some point in the future, or?
From what me and, Jim had talked about, yeah, in the future, definitely, since we definitely have more trained staff now.
Yeah.
So have that ability in the future.
As we lose our relative spending power for doing this in the future, I think that's going to be a key ingredient in keeping the roads up. Okay, Jim, anything on the permits and
Yes, I have a couple of them. You noticed the accident picture that Dustin showed on Los
Yes.
Gatos. In talking with CHP, we know about those accidents if they need our maintenance crew to be involved with traffic control or cleaning up or this and that. But what we're finding is that there's more accidents on Los Gatos than we know. And also there's some other little problem areas in the district. And so, you board members, are personally concerned about some of these because I've talked to all five of you one time or another about Los Gatos. But, and there's a few other Los Gatos type areas. So it's time, I think, that we get a special engineering study to look at the whole, all of these issues and determine what are the issues. I mean, just because maybe we hear there's accidents and, somebody might die and stuff like that, emotional things or whatever. Take it out of the emotional, get the facts. I've already asked CHP for some, what they call SWITR runs, which is traffic accident reports, throughout into different parts. I'm not picking on Los Gatos here, but that starts the ball. And then there's traffic engineering. There's other types of engineering, roadway engineering. That in picking on Los Gatos one more time, the slope, the grade of that is 26%. That's very high by road standards. And we don't know why the county approved that. We didn't approve the road. We just maintained the road. So there needs to be some explanation. How did this get here? What are the possible solutions? Because there could be an engineering fix to this. I'm not sure there is, but it's possible. But, and then to give alternatives for measures to improve this road that is ours, that we may, and the few others that have these unique characteristics. So anyway, I talked to, it looks like Dave Hunt has retired again and off riding his horse somewhere or whatever that people do in retirement. So I talked to the person who's taken over, Tyrone, who's taking over for him. And he's, what's Tyrone's title?
Tyrone's the deputy director.
So he's way up in the company. And so I've asked him to give me like a proposal for them to do, like in 3 months or so, a comprehensive overview using all the resources in their firm or other areas that we need to pull in. And let's see about, finding some solutions that you board members can take some action.
do you think there's an impact on that, on the quality of the road bed?
Say again?
I'm wondering if there's some connection not only of the steepness of the grade, but also the quality of the road itself that has an
That's a
impact on
good
that.
question. I don't know.
That's,
And that's what this kind of study, we
Yeah.
need to review that. And, yeah, it's not, compared, you asked the question about the, Buena Vista and the quality more or less of the roadway. And I said, pretty high quality, pretty well done. I wouldn't answer it the same way here.
I have a casual relationship with Buena Vista, and my recollection is that it wasn't a high quality road. But,
No, I think it is, isn't
well,
What is it?
is it on the steep portions?
No, it's at the base that, what are you talking about, the washout? The washout's at the base.
I'm sorry, I'm saying the wrong road.
Los Gatos.
Los Gatos.
Oh, Los Gatos, no, I think you're right. I would agree with you. Yeah,
Los
but,
Gatos.
but I'm not an engineer, so I don't know how you quantify that. And that's what I'm saying. I think it's time that we get some, expertise
Yeah,
here.
it's one thing to have a steep downhill grade to deal with. If you're also dodging potholes at the same time, it makes it a little challenging.
I've been on that road many times. And I think the main problem is that you have commercial people or people that have trailers and loads in their trucks trying to go the shortcut and get through. And they think they can do it, and it tips over, and it happens time and time again. I would think a clearance bar up there might stop that.
And I did pass that suggestion on. And I think that, well, they're looking into it, whether, we can do that or not. But I know they do it on private property because every, one of those parking structure has one.
Yep.
And I think it's a good idea. I don't know. And that's what they need to look at, all these different options, maybe scarifying the pavement, there's all these things.
I think the bottom line is your suggestion is a good one, to go get a study done and let's
Yes.
find out. And what the options might be.
so you factors and make mitigation activities based on these factors, basically, is the way it would be done.
And there is, I hate to bring up this word, but the litigation, and that's why I'm being careful here, in this conversation.
Mhm.
But I think at some point, the litigation issues come up. It's good to be able to show that the district has really tried to evaluate what the conditions are and what possible solutions are.
And
So-
speaking of that, the gentleman that had the accident and that tipped over, and is he going to be responsible for the cost of all the cleanup?
See, we tried to do that, but that's that lawsuit that Ward talks about, this arbitration thing or whatever mediation we're in right now. That's what we're doing, is it cost us $250,000. And their insurance company's fighting us and on and on. So yeah, we try. But, I would think that if I went out and spilled something on somebody's road, and it cost $250,000, that I would feel responsible, but nobody seems to view it that way. It's like, we are the government, so you just take care of it.
Well,
sure.
because the warning signs are there and they're
Oh, I
obvious,
know, yeah.
and they're obviously not, don't care. So,
Yeah. So we doubled those last year,
yeah,
and aren't they triple signs? There's one.
There is,
way down.
because there is on the county.
The
maintains
county,
that.
county put them up, then we put up 2 sets
Should be about
of warnings, then we changed the law and made it, 5 ton?
5 tons.
And you're estimating that the latest tip over was 15 tons?
Approximately, yeah.
Yeah.
But they're doing it to skip the scales. That's what it is.
yeah, exactly.
They're trying to skip the scales.
I mean, if it was a regular accident where someone just hit each other and, you get a tow truck, but this is huge cleanup amounts. It's not I think they should be responsible personally, but because they are doing it to avoid the scales.
Yeah,
But the last one was hazmat, and he didn't even have a license to do that.
yeah,
Okay,
so we are trying as we can, like the liquid that spilled, that was the $250,000
Yeah.
cleanup. So, yeah, we need to look at that too. How do we get CHP, who doesn't work for us, to make sure we're notified so that then we can stick our lawyers on them or insurance companies. So where we get into it sometimes is they sue us, but that's not the cleanup part. That's, they contend that we somehow, our road caused their accident.
Camera on the road could help too.
That's what see, there you go. There's another good idea that,
Couple cameras, yep.
and maybe a
So-
different kind of signage. And then what do you call that bar?
I call it a clearance bar,
Clearance
but
bar. Clearance
I
bar.
mean, you can also ask if you put some kind of signage that says, if you persist or whatever, you will be fined, or you will what do you call it? Cleanup, hazmat cleanup or whatever will be the responsibility of the driver. I'm not sure. But
Okay.
I mean, I've seen
a good
signs in
idea.
different states that tell you don't do something, and if you do it, you're gonna get it.
Right. Yeah.
So,
it's,
So
to follow up on Gina's question, is there any action that we need to take as a board or as a committee for follow-up on responsibility for the cleanup of that action, that tip over?
we can do that. We can get some.
I'm assuming that's probably a staff action rather than a board action.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, and that may come over because we have been talking to them about it, but I haven't seen anything come
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah. And it's not safe for our guys either. It's,
No,
I mean, it's not fair that they have to go out and clean up that stuff because somebody was trying to get away with something.
okay.
So
Gina,
then
yeah, I'm sorry.
we'll make this, I think, could we, for next week, make it, let's say, how do we want to do this? I don't think we need a particular agenda item and comment and all that. I think perhaps could this be in your report, and then if I need to fill in for the record or whatever, the committee.
You're talking about
with staff.
Relationship to the accident or
No,
the
having the study.
the study?
That we need
Okay.
a study on some of our
Yes, I'll do that.
unique areas. We gotta be careful what we call this,
Right.
unique areas, and we think it's a good idea to obtain a study.
Accident prone areas, maybe.
Yeah. And then I think that's as far as we need to go with it. And then the committee and the staff will just start working on that in the next few months.
Okay.
Does that require a board action or just board notification?
Board notification. Great. That's a good, yeah. And then the next item is the winery. There is a proposal for a winery right on the other side of the county line, San Diego County.
Does any of that come into Riverside County, or is it totally on the other side?
It's totally on the other side, as per the map and the notice that, have you seen the notice, Gina? That came out for this winery?
Yes, I got it.
I'm aware of it, but I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I got it from Beatrice and Bob.
Oh, yeah, I got the same copy.
Yes, a couple people sent it to me. I think it is, from my memory, the house that has the lake, Chuck, when you go into Fallbrook,
Yes.
that lake on the right.
Yes.
I think it's that. And they used to have, it just sold. So that's why I think it is that.
That's the one, yeah.
Yes, and it's outside of the gate. They would have to come through Temecula, most likely to go to it through our area. They did have an olive oil place there at one time and sold olive oil and had olive oil tastings. I don't know what size winery they're trying to put in. I don't know much about it.
I called the planner and didn't get any useful information from him. He's the person that's on the notice. Counties do a really unusual way of land use approvals, and they're no different. They basically take any land use approval and they toss it over to a advisory council, and they call it the planning group, Fallbrook Planning Group. And they have absolutely no jurisdiction whatsoever, okay? But they're basically supposed to debate this. So it's a way of getting the developers to go make peace with the public before it gets in the
I see.
county system. So the county will not be even looking at the plans for at least another month. So he couldn't even talk to me about what the plan was because he didn't know. Yeah, his
Okay.
even numbers on there. He said, well, go talk to the planning group. Well, we're a public agency, and those roads which provide the access to this property belong to us, even though it's in a different county. So they're gonna have to do an environmental assessment and like a pre-EIR. And we we need to be involved in that process. So I need to get a hold of Ward and have him give me one of his planning lawyers. They have lawyers there that just do this land development stuff. And prepare, what I believe we need to do is to prepare an official letter to San Diego County that we are going to insist that as part of the CEQA, the environmental, here we go again, okay? That as far as circulation portion, this definitely needs a study. It doesn't qualify for a negative declaration, and that we demand that that be done in full because we provide the access. And
Can I see?
that will lead to like how it's going to affect, what's the traffic gonna be? And what, because they're basically going from agriculture to retail. And so that's gonna create traffic on our roads, and that has to be debated and worked out with us. Because with that gate there, as I understand it, their southerly access is blocked because of the new gate.
Is
So
there any other wineries in the same situation?
you know, there's none in Duluth's boundaries, within our boundaries.
I thought, and Jenny, you probably are much more aware of this. I thought there was an existing winery off of Sandia Creek.
There is. He is for sale. I don't think he is sold yet. Whether he had a permit or not I don't know, because I never saw a permit come across like this has, you know, where it's gone through planning. He may have just said, I'm gonna put some grapes in and I'm attaching a little wine tasting in my house. And a couple days of the month, we do get-togethers. And
Do you know how long it has been there?
it's been there for a while, 5 years.
Yeah, I think.
What's going on now is his business has dropped tremendously because they put in the gates. He's in between those two gates is where his property is.
Yeah.
Is between the two gates. And so that's caused a problem, and, you know, and he's put the property up for sale for some reasons. I think the people that bought the other property that we're talking about, which is outside of the gates and closer, people would definitely come through Rancho California Road and Sandia Creek to get to it. I think they bought that property for the purpose probably of this, is my thinking, because it's a huge property. It's 140 acres, I believe. It has a lot of olive oil trees on it. It does have some grapes, but they can probably plant all grapes and use it. I wanted to mention Eileen Delaney at Fallbrook Planning Group is someone I do know.
Oh, good.
And so I haven't talked to her in a while, but I am very familiar with her. We used to be friends. And so if you do have something you're going to send to San Diego County, I will let her know that, you know, we want to be advised of anything that they look at also.
Great, perfect, perfect. Yeah, that's fine. One addition, you mentioned the property that they own. I found out that they have recently purchased another parcel near the, what's the folks that we've had trouble with, or you've had?
Oh, they're at the corner of the detour.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
around there. And there's no building on it. But your HOA, there was some structure, I guess it was a trailer or something, and they moved it. But that's the property, and the intent is to buy up everything around there, whether it's in Duluth, Riverside County or not. And then the ones that are in our district, they'll just do agriculture, Grove Range or whatever.
I see.
So that was just some piece of information I picked
Yeah,
up.
So they're trying to buy the lots next door that are on the Riverside County side and use
Right,
them as
right.
wineries or as a rental. Okay,
Right.
okay.
So,
And was that the one that had the trailer that we
Yeah.
asked to move?
yes, and they own that now. The same
Okay.
group.
The same
owns
group?
that. I just heard, now, this is all hearsay, but for the last few days, I've been asking around.
Okay,
And that's what I was, and the reason I was told that is they wanted me to understand that this group was part of us, that they own land in our district.
I see.
And, but the intention isn't to put the winery in our district. They just wanted, you know, they got some voting rights or something in our district, so.
And if their plan is that they just have, you know, the winery open 1 or 2 days a week for small hours, it may not be that bad, but since we don't know anything, can't say.
Yeah, yeah. And apparently this group is from Garden Grove,
Okay,
so.
that's correct.
And the speculation I heard, again, this is all gossip, okay? I've just been trying to understand what's going on out there, is that it's like a build it up and flip it kind of thing. That they're not really winery people, but again, that's gossip. So I've only known about this for less than a week, so I just,
If it's the group from Garden Grove, I know who you're talking about that, and I'll do a little research when I come back.
okay.
I'm making a note.
And our interest in it actually is the traffic concerns. And
Right, exactly.
so that's what we want to be a part of.
Yeah,
Okay, anything else?
that's it.
Gina, do you have anything to question or add?
No, sir. I'll be back next week. I'll be back and you'll see me again.
Very good.
Should we hold the meeting at your place? Where you are right now? right?
Oh, in the Turks and Caicos?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
We'll
it's
be
very,
right
very
there, don't
pretty
worry
here.
about it.
It's very-
Airline tickets.
Okay, the committee stands adjourned.
Great, that's it. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you, guys.